Hello, everybody. I am on my phone right now in my office, and my laptop is not behaving, or at least Facebook is not behaving for me right now. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, I see Duprees are watching. Hello, Duprees. Hello. I'm trying to get this to work, so we might be interrupted in the middle of this. I really don't want to hold this in my hand the whole time because this gets kind of hard on the hand. Anyway, I just wanted to go and say hello. Hopefully this will kick into gear soon. Okay. Oh, hi from Mackenzie. Hi. Do you notice I have to do this with my glasses? Because Mrs. Brickson is getting old. Her eyes are getting old. I'm sorry. Since I'm doing my phone, I'm going to see if I can try to do this now. I'm trying to get our songs and all that kind of good stuff up. Yes, and so again, let's see if I can try to prop this up here. Ooh, let's see. Oh my goodness. It's going to be wobbly. Let's see if I can kind of get this to work. Hold on. I am so sorry, guys. I've been working with this for the last 10 minutes. And it's not behaving with me. Hello. I don't know if that's Libby. I just saw Libby Sabata here just a little bit ago. Okay, Mrs. Zare's watching. Let's see if we can get this to go now here. Okay, so you're propped up. This is my phone. I'm so sorry. So, as a result, I don't know if we're going to be getting our music like we normally do up and going. I'm going to try my best. And, technology. Yes. I'm just sorry. So maybe I can do it. I'll do it this way. So now I have to wait for ads. Anyways, as I've said before, my name's Laura Brickson, and I am the principal at St. Bernard School here in Thief River Falls. And today is number 15. Number 15 of St. Bernard's Books with Mrs. Brickson. And, we're going to try this. Okay, let's see. And maybe we'll be able to hear. Let's see if we can just hear our song for today. Maybe. All right. So here we go. So you guys can jump around. You can sing.
We can make a difference. Go make a difference in the world. Go make a difference. We can make a difference. Go make a difference in the world.
All right. Well, hey, we were able to do it that way. Okay, I'm going to try one more little thing here. Okay. Alrighty. So, let's move this. So, I can see some of our people. Oh my gosh, look at all these people who are joining on. Okay, so I see rats are watching. Oh, hello, Siri. Siri Halverson's watching. Yay. Lofberg's, hello, Aurora. Hi from Mackenzie. Kristen, yes, hi. Henley's watching. Sabatas, yes. Mrs. Zare, hello, Mrs. Zare. Kendall, so it must be Kendall's on there. Hopefully you're working on your puzzle, Kendall. Mrs. Zare says hi to everyone. Mrs. Zare just said you're getting a puppy? What? Yay. Okay, we're going to need more information than that. I want to know the type of puppy, all that kind of good stuff. Okay? Sorry about that, guys. Okay, Mackenzie. Aurora. Yes. Well, anyway, it's good to see everybody here. And it's we are going to have a great day today. It is Monday, and our joke for the day, let's see if we can get this going correctly here. Our joke for today is, why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself? Why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself? Because it was too tired. Get it? It was too tired. Let's play that one again. Two tires? Okay, I know. Anyway, so again, if you are not able to see this happening live, we do have this. Remember, we can go to our YouTube listing, and you can catch up on any old chapters or anything like that that you may want to see. Okay, so make sure you can go to that. Today is Monday, April 6th, and it is it's Monday of Holy Week, you guys. It's Holy Week. Yesterday was Palm Sunday, and I was so happy and thrilled to have the opportunity to do music for Mass with Mrs Brickson and Deb and Daryl Tweetbach. And so that was cool. I got to play piano. And it was really interesting because right when we got done, Mrs. Merkins texted me. And she said, hey, great job. And she said, was it weird playing, with nobody there? And I said, you know what? It wasn't, because, I sincerely felt you guys there. I really did. I could feel everybody who was there. It was, it's just really, really cool. So again, let's think about what we can do about this Holy Week and remember that during this time. Thursday, I believe it's 7. Thursday is 7, and I think it's 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock on Friday. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. But I know St. Bernard's will be on, and we'll be doing music again for the Easter Vigil at 8 o'clock. St. Bernard's won't be doing an Easter Vigil Mass, but Bishop will be Bishop Hebner out of Kirkston, and so St. Bernard's website will have a link, and you can follow them. And then Easter Sunday, I'm back with Mrs. Brickell and Deb and Daryl on Easter Sunday at 9 a.m. And so we'll be here and celebrating with you guys. So anyways, just kind of keep that in mind. Think of what we can do for this Holy Week. And hopefully your teachers, I think they are, I've seen this, are doing some cool activities with you guys. Tomorrow, this week, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days this week. And then Thursday and Friday, we have off. There's no school. And Monday, a week from now, no school next Monday. So again, we have Thursday off, Friday off, and Monday off for our Easter break. We have a special book, so we're reading Holes today and tomorrow. But then on Wednesday, we're going to be doing some of these little picture books that Mrs. Zara recommended. So you can tell your friends that we're going to be having a special books on Wednesday. Okay? I see Holters are watching. Hello, Veda. Whoop. Hello, Jackson. I'm sorry. Excuse my hands. I'm having to do this off of my phone. So, I gotta get comfy. Gotta get ready. So, the last time we were here, they found something. And, let's see here. And he wrote a letter to his mom, and Stanley has been kind of lying to his mom, saying, oh, it's great, I'm doing swimming lessons, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And he was actually able to, he's dug a few holes. Remember, he did find that tube, that golden tube, that had KB on it, and they think it's from, they're trying to wonder what that's all about. And he's getting a little bit more used to camp, okay? And so remember, it really seems like the warden, and we've met the warden, who I think of as kind of like Cruella DeVille on 101 Dalmatians. And And so she's obviously looking for something in that dried up bank. They also, Zero spoke to him. And so, I mean, that's kind of like different with his relationship with Zero. So here we go. Chapter 17. I had lunch from the Wired Bean, had it delivered. Excellent. FYI, this is brought to you by the Wired Bean. This commercial is providing our Easter dinner of turkey. They're doing family dinners. So anyway, check out Wired Bean, have it delivered. And they also do family dinners as well. So that's cool. Okay. For the next week and a half, the boys continued to dig in and around the area where X-Ray had supposedly found the gold tube. They widened X-Ray's hole as well as the holes Armpit and Squid had been digging until the fourth day, when all three holes met and they formed one big hole. As the days wore on, the warden became less and less patient. She arrived later in the morning and left earlier in the afternoon. Meanwhile, the boys continued to dig later and later. "This is no bigger than when I left it yesterday," she said after leaving late one morning, well after sunrise. "What have you been doing down here?" "Nothing," said Squid. That was the wrong thing to say. At just that moment, Armpit was returning from a bathroom break. "How nice of you to join us," she said. "And what have you been doing?" I had to, go." The warden jabbed Armpit with her pitchfork, knocking him backward into the big hole. The pitchfork left 3 holes in the front of his shirt, 3 tiny little spots of blood. "You're giving these boys too much water," the warden told Mr. Podansky. They continued to dig until late afternoon, long after all the other groups had finished for the day. Stanley was down in the big hole along with the other 6 boys. They had stopped using wheelbarrows. He dug his shovel into the side of the hole. He scooped up some dirt and was racing up to the surface when Zigzag's shovel caught him on the side of his head, and he collapsed. He wasn't sure if he passed out or not. He looked up to see Zigzag's wild head staring down at him. "I ain't digging that dirt up," Zigzag said. "That's your dirt." "Hey, Mom," Maynard called. "Caveman's been hurt." Stanley brought his fingers up to the side of his neck. He felt wet blood and a pretty big gash right below his ear. Maynard helped Stanley up to his feet, then up and out of the hole. Mr. Sir made a bandage out of a piece of his sack of sunflower seeds and taped it over Stanley's wound. And then he told him to get back to work. "It ain't nap time." When Stanley returned to the hole, Zigzag was waiting for him. "That's your dirt," Zigzag said. "You have to dig it up. It's covering my dirt." Stanley felt a little dizzy. He could see a small pile of dirt. It took him a moment to realize that it was the dirt which had been in the shovel when he was hit. He scooped it up, and then Zigzag dug his shovel into the ground underneath where Stanley's dirt had been. Chapter 18. The next morning, Mr. Sir marched the boys to another section of the lake. Each boy dug his own hole, 5 feet wide and 5 feet deep. Oh, I just lost it. Okay, Stanley was glad to be away from the big hole. At least now he knew just how much he had to dig for the day. And it was a relief not to have the other shovel swinging past his face or the warden hanging around. He dug his shovel into the dirt and then slowly turned it to dump it in the pile. He had had to make his turn smooth and slow. If he jerked too quickly, he felt a throbbing pain just above his neck where Zigzag's shovel had hit him. That part of his head between his neck and his ear was considerably swollen. There were no mirrors in camp, but he imagined he looked like he had a hard-boiled egg sticking out of him. The remainder of his body hardly hurt at all. His muscle had strengthened, his hands were tough and calloused. He was still the slowest digger, but not all that much slower than Magnet. Less than 30 minutes after Magnet returned to camp, Stanley spat in his hole. After a shower, he put his dirty clothes in his crate and got out of his box stationery. He stayed in the tent to write a letter so Squid and the other boys wouldn't make fun of him for writing his mother. Dear Mom and Dad, camp is hard but challenging. We've been running obstacle courses and have to swim long distances in the lake. Tomorrow we learn He stopped writing as Zero walked into the tent, and then returned to his letter. He didn't care what Zero thought. Zero was nobody. Tomorrow we learn to rock climb. I know it sounds scary, but don't worry. Zero was standing beside him now, watching him write. Stanley turned and felt his neck throb. I don't like it when you read over my shoulder, okay? Zero said nothing. I'll be careful. It's not all fun and games here, but I think I'm getting a lot out of it. It builds character. The other boys... I don't know how, said Zero. What? Hello, Blomkers. Can you teach me? Stanley didn't know what he was talking about. Teach you what, to rock climb? Zero stared at him with penetrating eyes. I want to learn to read and write. Stanley let out a short laugh. He wasn't laughing at Zero. He was just surprised. All this time he thought Zero was reading his shoulder. Sorry, I don't know how to teach. After digging all day, he didn't have the strength to try to teach Zero how to read and write. He needed to save his energy for the people who counted. You don't need to teach me to write, said Zero. Just to read. I don't have anybody to write. Sorry, Stanley said again. His muscles and hands weren't the only parts of his body that had toughened up over the last several weeks. His heart had hardened as well. He finished his letter. He barely had enough moisture in his mouth to seal and stamp the envelope. It seemed that no matter how much water he drank, he was always thirsty. Chapter 19. He was awakened one night by a strange noise. At first he thought it might have been some kind of animal, and it frightened him. But as the sleep cleared from his head, he realized that the noise was coming from the cot next to him. Squid was crying. You okay? Stanley whispered. Squid's head jerked around. He sniffed and caught his breath. Yeah, I'm just fine, he whispered, and he sniffed again. In the morning, Stanley asked Squid if he was feeling better. What are you, my mother? Said Squid. Stanley raised and lowered one shoulder. I got allergies, okay? Asked Squid. Okay, said Stanley. Open your mouth and I'll break your jaw. Stanley kept his mouth shut most of the time. He didn't talk too much to any of the boys, afraid that he might say the wrong thing. They called him caveman and all that, but he couldn't forget that they were dangerous too. They were all here for a reason. As Mr. Sir would say, this wasn't Girl Scout camp. Stanley was thankful that there was no racial problems. X-Ray, Armpit, and Zero were black. He, Squid, Zigzag were white. Magnet was Hispanic. On the lake, they were all the same reddish-brown color, the color of dirt. He looked from the hole to see the water truck in its trailing dust cloud. His canteen was still almost a quarter full. He quickly drank it down and then took his place in line behind Magnet and in front of Zero. The air was thick with heat, dust, and exhaust fumes. Mr. Sir filled their canteens. The truck pulled away, and Stanley was back in his hole, shovel in hand, when he heard Magnet call out, Anybody want some sunflower seeds? Magnet was standing at ground level, holding a sack of seeds. He popped a handful in his mouth, chewed, swallowed, shells in all. Over here, called X-Ray. The sack looked to be about half full. Magnet rolled up the top and then tossed it to X-Ray. How'd you get them without Mr. Sir seeing you? Asked Armpit. I can't help it, Magnet said. He held both hands up, wiggled his fingers, said, My fingers are like little magnets. The sack went from X-Ray to Armpit to Squid. Sure is good to eat something that doesn't come from a can, said Armpit. Squid tossed the sack to Zigzag. Stanley knew it would come to him next. He didn't even want it. From the moment Magnet shouted, Anybody want some sunflower seeds? He knew there'd be trouble. Mr. Sir was sure to come back. And anyway, the salted shells would only make him thirsty. Coming your way, caveman, Zigzag said. Airmail and special delivery. It's unclear whether the seeds spilled before they got to Stanley or after he dropped the bag. Seemed to him that Zigzag hadn't rolled up the top before throwing it, and that was the reason why he didn't catch it. But it all happened very fast. One moment the sack was flying through the air. The next thing Stanley knew, the sack was in his hole and the seeds were spilled across the dirt. "Oh, man," said Magnet. "Sorry," Stanley says he tried to sweep the seeds back into the sack. "I don't want to eat dirt," said X-Ray. Stanley didn't know what to do. "The truck's coming!" shouted Zigzag. Stanley looked up at the approaching dust cloud and then back down at the spilled seeds. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. What else is new? He dug his shovel into his hole and tried to turn over this dirt and bury the seeds. What he should have done, he realized later, was knock one of his dirt piles back into the hole. But the idea of putting it into his hole was unthinkable. "Hello, Mr. Sir, back so soon?" X-Ray said. "It seems like you were just here." Whoops, wrong voice. "It seems like you were just here," said Armpit. "Time flies when you're having fun," said Magnet. Stanley continued to turn the dirt over in his hole. "You girls having a good time?" said Mr. Sir. He moved from one hole to another. He kicked a dirt pile by Magnet's hole, and then he moved towards Stanley. Stanley could see 2 seeds at the bottom of his hole. As he tried to cover them up, he unearthed a corner of the sack. "Well, what do you know, Mr. Caveman?" said Mr. Sir, standing over him. "It looks like you found something." Stanley didn't know what to do. "Dig it out," Mr. Sir said, "and we'll take it to the warden. Maybe she'll give you the rest of the day off." Stanley reached down and pulled up the empty burlap sack. He tried to hand it to Mr. Sir, but he wouldn't take it. "So tell me, Mr. Caveman," said Mr. Sir, "how did my sack of sunflower seeds get in your hole?" "I stole it from your truck." "You did?" "Yes, Mr. Sir." "Then what happened to all the sunflower seeds?" "I ate them." "All by yourself?" "Yes, Mr. Sir." "Hey, Caveman," shouted Armpit, "how come you didn't share any with us?" "That's cold, man," said X-Ray. "I thought you were our friend," said Magnet. Mr. Sir looked around from one boy to another, and then back to Stanley. "We'll see what the warden has to say about this. Let's go." Stanley climbed out from his hole and followed Mr. Sir to the truck. He still held the empty sack. It felt good to sit inside the truck, out of the direct rays of the sun. Stanley was surprised he could feel good about anything at the moment, but he did. It felt good to sit down on a comfortable seat for a change. And as the truck bounced along the dirt, he was able to appreciate the air blowing through the open window onto his hot and sweaty face. Chapter 20. It felt good to walk in the shade of the 2 oak trees. Stanley wondered if this is how a condemned man felt on his way to the electric chair, appreciating all of the good things in life for the last time. They had to step around holes to get to the cabin door. Stanley was surprised to see so many around the cabin. He would have expected the warden to not want the campers digging so close to her home, but several holes were right up against the cabin wall. The holes were closer together here as well, and they were different shapes and sizes. Mr. Sir knocked on the door. Stanley still held the empty sack. "Yes," said the warden, opening the door. "There's been a little trouble on the lake," Mr. Sir said. "Caveman will tell you about it." The warden stared at Mr. Sir for a moment. Then her gaze turned towards Stanley. He felt nothing but dread now. "Come in, I suppose," said the warden. "You're letting the cold out." It was air-conditioned inside of her cabin. The television was going. She picked up the remote and turned it off. She sat down on a canvas chair, and she was barefoot and wearing shorts. Her legs were as freckled as her face and arms. "So what is it you have to tell me?" she said. Stanley took a breath to steady himself. While Mr. Sir was filling the canteens, I snuck into the truck and I stole his sack of sunflower seeds. "I see." She turned to Mr. Sir. "Is that why you brought him here?" "Yes, but I think he's lying. I think somebody else stole the sack and Caveman is covering it up. He claims to have eaten them all by himself." He took the sack from Stanley and handed it to the warden. "I see," Stanley said again. The warden said again. Well, the sack wasn't full, Stanley said, and I spilled a lot. You can check my hole. In that room, Caveman, there's a small flowered case. Will you go get it for me, please? The warden said. She pointed to the door. Stanley looked at the door and then at the warden and then back at the door. He slowly walked toward it. It was kind of a dressing room with a sink and a mirror, and next to the sink he saw the case, white with pink roses. He brought it back out to the warden, and she set it on the glass coffee table in front of her. She unclasped the latch and opened the case. It was a makeup case. Stanley's mother had one similar to it. He saw several bottles of nail polish, polish remover, a couple of lipstick tubes, and other jars and powders. The warden held up a small jar of dark red nail polish. You see this, Caveman? She said. He nodded. This is my special nail polish. Do you see the dark red color? You can't buy that in the store. I have to make it myself. Stanley had no idea why she was showing it to him. He wondered why the warden would ever have the need to wear nail polish or makeup. Do you want to know my secret ingredient? He raised and lowered one shoulder. The warden opened the bottle. Rattlesnake venom. And with a small paintbrush, she began applying it to the nails on her left hand. It's perfectly harmless. When it's dry, she finished her left hand. She waved in the air for a few seconds and then began painting the nails on her right hand. It's only toxic when wet. She finished painting her nails and then stood up. She reached over and touched Stanley's face with her fingernails. She ran her sharp, wet nails very gently down his cheek, and he felt his skin tingle. The nail on her pinky just barely touched the wound behind his ear, and a sharp sting of pain caused him to jump back. The warden turned to face Mr. Sir, who was sitting on the fireplace hearth. So you think that he stole your sunflower seeds? No, he says he stole them, but I think it was... She stepped forward and struck him across the face. Mr. Sir stared at her. He had 3 long red marks slanting across the left side of his face. Stanley didn't know if the redness was caused by her nail polish or his blood. It took a moment for the venom to sink in. Suddenly, Mr. Sir screamed and clutched at his face with both hands. He let himself fall over, rolling on the hearth and on the rug. The warden spoke softly. I don't especially care about your sunflower seeds. Mr. Sir moaned. If you must know, said the warden, I liked it better when you smoked. For a second, Mr. Sir's pain seemed to recede. He took several long, deep breaths, and then his head jerked violently, and he let out a shrill scream, worse than the one before. The warden turned to Stanley. I suggest you return back to your hole now. Stanley started to go, but Mr. Sir lay in the way. Stanley could see the muscles in his face jump and twitch, his body writhed in agony. Stanley stepped carefully over him. Is he... Excuse me, said the warden. Stanley was too frightened to speak. Oh, he isn't going to die, the warden said. Unfortunately for you. Okay. I'm going to pause it there. We're going to see what happens. She is not a nice lady. Not a nice lady at all. Okay, and so we heard about the steak venom that she put in her nail polish, and so there's extra reasons for people to be definitely scared of her. That's for sure. And I know this is kind of more of an older kid story too, but it's going to be really good. It's good to have some for little kids and big kids as well. But we're going to find out what happens. The action is just ramping up. Hold on just a second here. I want to play our song for today. Remember, we were doing our Schoolhouse Rock videos. And, hold on a second. Oh. Okay, and what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to do what's called I'm Just a Bill. Okay? Come here. Okay, we're going to do I'm Just a Bill. And this is teaching us, this is a social studies schoolhouse rock. This is a social, whoops, come on. This is a social, oh, hold on, pause. Okay. I got to make sure that this is playing. This is a social studies schoolhouse rock, and we're going to learn how an idea becomes a bill, which becomes a law.
Knowledge is power. It's Schoolhouse Rocky, the tip of the block of your favorite schoolhouse rock.
I'm just a bill.
Whew, you sure gotta climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is.
I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long wait while I'm sitting in committee, but I know I'll be a law someday. At least I hope and pray that I will, but today I am still just a bill.
Gee, Bill, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage.
Well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed, so they called their local congressman, and he said, "You're right, there ought to be a law." Then he sat down and wrote me out and introduced me to Congress, and I became a bill. And I'll remain a bill until they decide to make me a law. I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I got as far as Capitol Hill. Well, now I'm stuck in committee, and I'll sit here and wait while a few key congressmen discuss and debate whether they should let me be a law. I hope and pray that they will, but today I am still just a bill.
Listen to those congressmen arguing. Is all that discussion and debate about you?
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones. Most bills never even get this far. I hope they decide to report on me favorably, otherwise I may die.
Die?
Yeah, die in committee. Oh, but it looks like I'm going to live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And if they vote for me on Capitol Hill, well, then I'm off to the White House where I'll wait in a line with a lot of other bills for the president to sign. And if he signs me, then I'll be a law. I hope and pray that he will. But today I am still just a bill.
You mean even if the whole Congress says you should be a law, the president can still say no?
Yes, that's called a veto. If the president vetoes me, I have to go back to Congress and they vote on me again, and by that time you're so
By
old.
that time, it's very unlikely that you become a law. It's not easy to become a law, is it?
No, but how I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
He signed your bill. Now you're a law.
Oh, yes.
All righty. Yes. I always love those. Seeing those as kids. Hold on a second. I gotta go. That's for tomorrow. Anyway, it is so good to see all of you guys again. Hopefully, once again, I can get my computer up and working correctly. And I miss you all. Many, many, many blessings. Also, too, today, if you could send out an extra special prayer for my friend Erica. Erica Callhammer. And, she was very sick, and I know we've been praying for her as part of our morning prayers. And it seems like she's probably going to be going home to Jesus and passing away soon. And just if you could say extra prayers for her and her family. So I love you guys. We will see you soon. We'll see you tomorrow.